If you're feeling broke, lost, and full of doubt, it might not be a breakdown. It might be the sign that you're on the verge of real abundance. There are days you stare at your nearly empty bank account and wonder, what am I even doing with my life? You're not lazy. You're not useless. You're not lacking talent. You've done everything they told you to do. Work hard, stay consistent, sacrifice, stay up late, keep pushing. And yet, the result feels the same. Exhaustion, scarcity, that sinking feeling of being left behind in a race you never even agreed to run. And slowly, you start to doubt yourself. Did I take the wrong path? Am I just not savvy enough for this world? But pause for a moment. What if you didn't go the wrong way? What if you're simply walking a path that few have the courage to take? A path that doesn't chase money as the destination, but seeks truth. And that's why you feel broke. Not because you're less than, but because your soul refuses to bow to values that no longer belong to you. You're not broke because you failed. You just don't fit the way this world defines success. While most people are taught that to be wealthy, you must climb high, compete hard, and grab more. You're the kind of person who chooses to walk slowly, live honestly, and never trade your integrity for something that no longer aligns with who you are. The world tells you to hustle, to grind endlessly, to prove your worth with every dollar you earn. But deep inside, it doesn't feel right. Not because you're lazy, but because you can see how that kind of striving slowly kills something sacred within you. You can't sacrifice your peace for a paycheck. You can't manipulate, pretend, or trample over others just to get ahead. And that's why the world calls you a dreamer. They say you're unrealistic, that you don't know how to make money. But they don't understand. You're simply refusing to sell your soul in exchange for comfort. You don't choose jobs based on the paycheck. You choose based on energy, on meaning, on what feels true in your heart. But those choices often leave you struggling, because this world wasn't designed for those who live by their true frequency. It was built by systems that value profit over conscience, results over meaning, speed over kindness. And you, someone born to live by inner light, no longer belong to those old definitions. You're not wrong. You're just living at a different frequency, a way of being that most of the world isn't ready for yet. You might be asking yourself, if I'm not lazy, if I'm not incapable, then what's blocking the flow of money into my life? The answer isn't in the present. It lies deeper, in the energetic layers you've been carrying for a long, long time. Not everyone is born into poverty, but many are born into belief systems that simply don't allow them to become wealthy. Maybe it started in childhood, watching your parents struggle with money, argue over it, blame each other, feel constantly exhausted. Maybe it came from a passing phrase. Rich people are greedy. Money is the root of all problems. As long as we survive, that's enough. Those words, seemingly harmless, became unspoken commands embedded deep in your subconscious. You grew up carrying those old beliefs without even realizing it. Worse, sometimes you inherited beliefs that weren't even yours. Unhealed memories from your bloodline, from ancestors who lived through scarcity, fear, and survival mode. You didn't just inherit DNA, you inherited energetic patterns. And those patterns, if left unhealed, become invisible boulders, blocking the flow of abundance in your life. You're not afraid of money, but there's a part of you, deep down, that's afraid wealth will cost you something sacred. Your kindness, your simplicity, your connection to others. So unconsciously, you reject wealth, not with words, but with quiet daily choices, choosing less, choosing safety, choosing to endure. But you weren't born to repeat this cycle. You were born to break it. You might be asking yourself, to the awakened soul, money is not a goal. It's energy, a flow. It arrives when you open your heart. It withdraws when you resist or cling too tightly. And like all forms of energy, money cannot be forced. It only flows with alignment. You don't need to become someone else to receive money. You just need to return to the frequency your soul has always radiated. A frequency that doesn't tremble in lack, that doesn't push or strive just to be worthy. The old world taught you that to earn money, you must be deserving. You must sacrifice, compete, prove your value. But for someone who lives by inner light, like you, the truth is, you don't need to become worthy to receive anything. You only need to believe that you already are. Because when you carry a pure heart, when you live in alignment with your purpose, when you give from a place that's no longer wounded, money will come to you, not as a reward, but as a natural result. It arrives not to make you more important, but to amplify what you're already living. It is a companion, not a destination. What draws money to you is not perfection, but clarity in your energy. That you're no longer chasing money to escape lack. You're welcoming it as a way to express your light in practical, grounded, and lasting ways. And in that space, you'll begin to see money flow, not from effort, but from resonance, from alignment between soul and action. Money is energy, and when you live in your truth, you become the most natural magnet for that energy to find you. So how do you transform money from a source of worry into a gentle companion on your awakening journey? The answer isn't found by doing more. It's found by unraveling more. Start with radical honesty with yourself. Ask, what fear am I trying to escape by chasing money? What am I running from in my pursuit of enough? Am I desperately trying to become someone else to feel worthy? When you bravely look, without judgment, beneath the motives behind your pursuit of abundance, you begin to see clearly. Much of what you do is not aligned, but driven by default survival patterns. You don't need to quit everything and start over. You simply need to shift your perspective slightly. Choose to do things that make you feel authentically alive, allow you to give without losing yourself, bring you peace in each step you take. Abundance isn't a reward for checking off every goal. It arrives when you live each day without feeling like you're betraying your soul. You don't need to go big, you only need to go true. And from that truthfulness, money will come, slowly but steadily, not because of strategy, but because of alignment. The universe doesn't abandon those who live authentically, but it needs to see that you trust enough to act without fear. Begin today with something small, even one line of writing, one heartfelt share, one subtle shift in your energy. Give yourself permission to choose abundance without the weight of guilt or shame. You were born to be abundant, not only in spirit, but in your material life too. All it takes is daring to be yourself. We've been taught that wealth is a reward, given only to those who are good enough, hardworking enough, talented enough. But for those who live by the soul, abundance is not a reward. It's a reflection of how deeply you agree with your own true value, a reflection of how fully you believe that you don't need to become someone else in order to be supported, a reflection of how connected you are to the flow of the universe, a flow that is never lacking. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You only need to affirm to yourself, I am worthy of abundance, not because I'm better, but because I've chosen to live in truth. When you truly believe that, you begin to live differently. You no longer cling to money as if it might abandon you, and you no longer reject money as if having it betrays your spiritual path. You open to giving and to receiving. You become someone who welcomes the energy of money as a natural part of life. And from that space, things begin to flow. Not because you're more deserving than others, but because you've stopped blocking the flow. You don't chase wealth to fill a void. You create wealth from a place where you already feel full. Wealth, then, is no longer something you must chase. It's something you allow yourself to step into. Because abundance doesn't come from outside you. It rises from within, from your own energy, once you stop fighting yourself. And in that moment, you'll see, you don't have to chase abundance. You are the place abundance has been waiting to call home. If you're in a season of struggle, with money, with faith, with yourself, if it feels like the world is turning away and you have no ground left to stand on, remember this: you are not failing. You are being refined, not to become a better version of yourself, but to become fully yourself, unfiltered and whole. A bearer of light, a soul learning to live in sync with its own rhythm, a cycle breaker, paving a new future, not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. Don't let numbers in a bank account define your worth. Don't let the doubts of others shake the truth of your path. You're on the right track, slow but deep, still but steady. And the universe is quietly rearranging everything, waiting to receive you. The moment you fully become who you were born to be, the money will come. Not as a prize, but as a response. A natural reflection of life meeting you where you are. Honest, open, aligned. So keep walking, with your heart wide open and your trust strong enough to carry you through. Because at the end of this road is not just a life of abundance, but a life in perfect resonance.